The government's policy on red tape as associated with planning.
Look, we supported again the legislation that went through about, I think, 18 months or 2 years ago now to amend the Development Act with a view to making it a more straightforward, tick the box type system, that if your application fitted into the appropriate development area, then you would get the box ticked and you'd get your development approval. Thus far, it doesn't seem to be working as well in practice as it was going to in theory. So again, we'll be keeping a pretty close watch on it and reviewing whether or not there needs to be something further. But, I come from the point of view that if you buy a commercial block of land, then you should have every expectation that you will, within reason, be able to put a commercial premises on it. And sometimes that becomes unbelievably difficult. And I always remember being told about not just NIMBYs, not in my backyards, but notes, not over there either, and bananas build absolutely nothing anywhere near anybody.
Actually, I really like that. That's very true. Now, so would you call yourself, as you or your government, pro or con development?
Pro development. We want to have good development, appropriate development and sustainable development, but without development the city dies, and we have been for too long looked at as a backwater. I actually talk to people who say I went to Sydney and said I came from Adelaide, and people say poor you. And I think it's the best place in the world to live, and I want to see a vibrant city, and that's why we came out with our proposal for what we want to do on the North Terrace, Morford Street corner, so that we can have something like our Docklands or our Darling Harbour in Adelaide.
Urban consolidation or urban sprawl? Do you want to see tracts of land opened up north and south, or bring people back in, or both?
Well, possibly a bit of both, but I'm very much inclined to the view. I imagine you're familiar with Bernard Salt's book, The Big
Yes.
Shift. And post World War II, we've seen that huge shift to suburban living. But I've got to say that looking at my kids and their generation, I suspect that we're on the cusp of the next big shift, and that people are increasingly not going to want to travel for 3 hours a day and then spend their weekends mowing the lawn and doing the garden, and that I therefore think that we are going to see much more people living in the inner city and the inner suburbs, and we do need to have quite a considerable increase in our consolidation rather than just endlessly spreading out. Because the other issue, I think, will be after we secure water, and of course that's the number one issue for this state, but when we've dealt with water security, I think food security will be the next big issue, and we want to make this state as sustainable and self-sustaining as possible, and to that end, using up viable agricultural land, which is limited in this state in the first place, I think we need to adopt some caution doing that.